hanggang ngayon naaalarma pa rin ang tao dun sa dating balita na nagbenta yung BSP ng katakot-takot na ginto. Ngayon naman yung reserves na erode, paano ba to? Wala nang matitira. It's also been noted that our foreign reserves have gone down. Is that correct? And what impact would that have?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So right now, our reserves is 103 billion. It has gone down $103 billion.
Has
Mr.
gone
Chair.
down from, what are the official figures po? Kasi nabasa lang namin sa dyaryo, medyo na-alarma yung ibang sektor. Bakit bumabagsak yung foreign reserves natin? Ngayon, yun nga, sabi ninyo, kailan bumagsak at bakit?
So if you look at if I can share, Mr. Chair, the numbers that we have, as of end 2025, it was 110.8 billion
Okay.
dollars.
Yes.
And right now, July of 2026, it's 103.3 billion dollars, Mr. Chair.
How are we supposed to address what is a worldwide crisis with a cabinet that is constituted by 12 at the very least, merely acting secretaries? I would like to name the most important
Grabe. Dapat si ading mo tinatanong mo dyan. Yan lang naman makakasagot yan eh.
ones, Executive Secretary Recto, DPWH Dison, DOTR Lopez was such a big chunk for foreign assisted projects, DOJ Vida, DOF, I think Secretary Go, DBM, as mentioned earlier, for DENR with all the climate change issues, Mitch Kuna is also acting, for DOH, Dr. Mercado, for PCO, Dave Gomez, for DOLE, with an increased budget for social assistance, Francis Tolentino, Joshua Bingkang of BCDA together with Dr. Liban. So, ang tanong, makakaasa po ba tayo ng pagbabago at tunay na aksyon kapag nakatali ang kamay ng ating mga cabinet members? Alam ko na hindi naman ninyo masasagot ako, pero sa kabila nun siguro mainam na sabihin na rin natin, not only is this a perversion of what should be a system of checks and balances, but we worry that you will not be as free and as able to come up with innovative and emergency measures.
Senator Amy Marcos, please.
Pwede mag-follow up, palibhasa na nabanggit na itong peso US dollar, 60 to 62, yung ba yung measure ng 2027 GAA? 60 to 62, tama ba? Yun yung computation daw nila.
Yes, that's the assumption, Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
So, paano yon yung sinasabi ng chairman namin? For every 1 peso depreciation ng peso sa dollar, magkano yung additional expenditure, lalong-lalo na sa utang, yung foreign denominated debt, maliban pa dun sa FAPS na binanggit?
Can I, Mr. Chair?
For
may
every peso depreciation, magkano yung akyat niyan?
Asek Decgo, you want to answer?
Yes, because borrowings are under the Department of Finance, Mr. Chair.
That's right, that's
So
right.
if I can explain, roughly, our total debt is about 19 trillion. About 33% or 1/3 of that is in the form of foreign exchange.
Yes.
So that would roughly be about 6 trillion pesos, Your Honor. And
Per peso po?
roughly, I just computed roughly 1/62 would be
Yes.
1.6%.
Yes, I'm getting something like that, but perhaps DBM can submit something that's slightly more accurate or kahit sa DOF. At siguro may listahan naman tayo which government agencies, programs, expenditure items will be most impacted by a weaker peso. Siguro sa DBM na yon.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we can submit the foreign assisted projects that may be exposed to those forex fluctuations.
And perhaps just to finish off the issue of the debt and the forex, no, what foreign exchange and credit risk management measures are available to the government? What are we undertaking? Has the government hedged in some way or otherwise prepared for further peso depreciation, which has actually been predicted?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the government does not hedge its foreign denominated debt. However, one of the measures that the government is taking is
Yes,
that we
okay.
have been,
I accept the correction. We do not hedge, but how do we prepare, therefore, for further peso depreciation?
what the government has been doing is we have been increasing our peso exposure and reducing our foreign exchange exposure. In the past, we might have borrowed 60% in peso, 40% in foreign exchange. Today, our goal is to borrow more of 75 to 80% in peso and only 20 to 25% in foreign exchange.
Yes, that's been announced that in fact the domestic borrowings have increased tremendously relative to the foreign borrowings. However, it's also been noted that our foreign reserves have gone down. Is that correct? And what impact would that have?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the BSP can answer about the foreign reserves.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So right now, our reserves is 103 billion. It has gone down $103 billion.
Has
Mr.
gone
Chair.
down from, what are the official figures po? Kasi nabasa lang namin sa dyaryo, medyo na-alarma yung ibang sektor. Bakit bumabagsak yung foreign reserves natin? Ngayon, yun nga, sabi ninyo, kailan bumagsak at bakit?
So if you look at if I can share, Mr. Chair, the numbers that we have, as of end 2025, it was 110.8 billion
Okay.
dollars.
Yes.
And right now, July of 2026, it's 103.3 billion dollars, Mr. Chair. There are a number of factors affecting the change in the
Malaki-laking bagsak yan within a 6-month period, di po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So if we can try to decompose what could have driven the decline, Mr. Chair, ang una ho doon, may mga transaction ho ang gobyerno, nagbabayad tayo ng ating
Pwede
mga
magbigay ng halimbawa.
nagbibigay ho, may mga obligasyon ho. Pag may kailangan ho silang dolyar, pwede ho silang kumuha doon sa ating international.
Pero
Wala
malaki
eh.
pong bagsak to. It's 7.5 billion within a period of 6 months. Bakit po? Is there a specific reason? Sabi ninyo may obligasyon yung gobyerno pero normally hindi naman na kinukuha sa reserves yan, hindi po ba?
May unti ho na pwedeng kunin sa ating international reserves. Pangalawa ho, yung presyo rin ho noong mga holdings natin, nag-iiba rin ho yung valuation ng ating mga components ng reserves. So, nag-iiba rin yung value noon. Yun rin ho ay pwedeng ho mag-explain nung ibinaba noong ating international reserves.
Maaari na lang kami bigyan ng siguro kung pwede kayong magsumite ng mga dahilan kung bakit nangyari to at kung talagang may kaalaman dito sa government-to-government obligations, yun ba yung sinasabi ninyo or iba pang obligasyon? Kasi yung ibang obligasyon, naka-schedule naman po yan eh.
Oho, yung iba ho kinukuha nila sa market, may option din ho sila na kumuha sa ating reserves. Magbibigay ho kami ng datos at
Maraming salamat,
paliwanag.
Mr. Chair. Abala lang tayo dahil hanggang ngayon naaalarma pa rin ang tao dun sa dating balita na nagbenta yung BSP ng katakot-takot na ginto. Ngayon naman yung reserves na erode, paano ba to? Wala nang matitira. Kaya eto.
Mr. Chairman.
Abangan na lang namin yung inyong paliwanag po.
Mr.
Salamat
Chairman,
po.
maybe start with the
Yes.
DBGC.
Actually, I was gonna ask
to start
already to
off
ano,
with
with the judges.
Department of Finance,
Yes, we will.
and then okay.
We'll ask.
Tinatapos lang yung topic ng Forex.
Okay.
Maraming salamat. Hindi naman sa ayoko mag-intay kay Joel at alam ko na una naman si SP at saka si Chairman. Ang gusto ko lang sana kasi balikan ang pangunahing paksa na dapat talakayin natin sa araw na ito. And yun yung macroeconomic assumptions. Gusto ko talaga bumalik doon dahil sa pakiwari namin ang koleksyon ay hindi angkop sa gastusin. The 2027 NEP is anchored on a GDP growth of 5 to 6%, when in fact we know that the second quarter only registered 2.3%. Today, we got the bad news that even Moody's has downgraded us to a mere 3% for the entire year, significantly lower than 2025. How confident is the administration that the 2027 growth target remains achievable, given the very clear slowdown? We're getting conflicting numbers from you. You are reporting through the DepDev na talagang matumal ang benta, mahina talagang ekonomiya, pero sa kabila nito, ang laki-laki ng dagdag. Kaya natataranta kami at hindi namin maintindihan bakit yung revenue collection natin, sinasabi natin 9.2% ang dagdag sa tax. Ang total revenue increase is 8.3%, samantalang ang bagsak ng ekonomiya ay napakalupit at napakalaki. Ano ang tayo ba talaga ay tuluyan delulu at taon-taon masyadong malaki ang ating projection, labis-labis ang gastos, hindi naman nahahabol.
Mr. Chair, may I respond to the first part of the
Yes, please
question?
proceed.
Yeah. The assumption that we are making, Your Honors, that we'll be able to make improvement in our economic business climate, so that we are
Yes,
able.
but Manong RC, nasa 2.6, 2.3, quarter
Yes,
1 and
yes.
quarter 2. Quarter 3 is not gonna look much better at the rate the weather's going. Paano pa hahabulin yan for 2026?
A big part of that reduction, Mr. Chair, is the slowdown of the economy was coming from the sharp contraction of public investment. Kung wala sana yun, you would have, kung nag-flat lang sana yung public construction, we could have added 1 percentage point more in the GDP. So,
Pero hindi na natin mahahabol itong taon na ito. Kasi tag-ulan na. Hindi pa humuhupa yung ulan. Hindi pa pumapasok yung mga bagyo. Habagat pa lamang. Bahan-bahan na.
the assurance that we are making is that we are getting from our colleagues, Mr. Chairs, that the bottlenecks there and the spending part are now being effectively addressed. So we're taking the other portion there of that reasonable assumption. I would take that as a reasonable assumption, Mr. Madam Chair, is that this weak sentiment that we are seeing is temporary. That I think if we can show to the public that the whole of government is sincere and serious about good governance, about restoring trust in our institutions. For example, in the case of Congress, we have indicated here what those laws that we hope will be passed to help restore that trust and confidence in our institutions. That will significantly improve the domestic side of our economy. The other issues that I mentioned will take some time, like improvement in the investment, constraints that we face, like the problem with power, high cost of power. Those will take some time. But I think the thing is, at the moment, the potential of the economy is 5 to 6%. That's the potential growth of the economy.
Yes, that's what we were talking about for the past year po. So,
Yeah.
5 to 6% ang sinasabi natin. Alam
Yeah.
naman natin ang katotohanan, hindi naman nasa kalahati pa. Menos pa sa kalahati nun.
Yeah nga.
Hindi ba dapat maging realidad ang ating pagpaplano? Why are we budgeting for the impossible? It's a declining economy, and we are declaring an increase in collections of 9.2%. Are we completely mad or delusional? O ano ba talaga? Dahil hindi naman ito totoo eh. Paano ba ito? Anong mga specific sectors are we expected to drive the acceleration in growth for 2027? Nabanggit na po, paulit-ulit natin, inaasahan, public infrastructure. Okay, we understand that. We're trying to ratchet that up. Pero itong weak sentiment na tinutukoy, alam naman natin, isang taon na nakalipas hindi pa nasosolve. Ngayon, nag-umpisa na naman ang ulan, nasa isipan na naman ng madla itong flood control. So, ano ba talaga ang mga sektor na inaasahan natin to ratchet up this collection? Perhaps Secretary Go, since you are the tax
Ano ba talaga ading?
collector, you would like to explain this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I think the explanation lies in the definitions that you are using. The macroeconomic assumption of
Sorry, it's not
GDP
my fault.
sorry,
I
yeah.
didn't calculate those.
Sorry.
You submitted them to us.
Yes, yes. Yes, Your Honor, I stand corrected. The macroeconomic assumption of GDP growth of
Very
5 to 6% is real GDP. And it also has an inflation factor of 4 to 5%. So when we do our tax collections, we use nominal numbers. So we're using the nominal GDP growth and not the real GDP growth. So if you add the real GDP...
What if someone told you that the real GDP growth was even lower than your so-called nominal growth, which is the suspicion of many, not merely economists, econometricians, or even legislators? Mas mababa pa eh.
Your Honor, that's why the DepDev generates the macroeconomic assumptions that we use to estimate our collections. So the macroeconomic assumptions that we were given is a real GDP of 5 to 6 and inflation of 4 to 5. So the nominal GDP growth should be at least 9%, which is why our tax collection projection, which you correctly stated, is up by 9%.
Yes, but I thought you ascribed that to tax efficiency. In any case, what sectors are you really expecting to accelerate growth in this miserable economy? Perhaps you can name certain sectors because we're not seeing it. It's only public infrastructure that's been repeated time and again. Is there anything else you can point me to?
If I may, I will point to the export industry. The export industry, the export of goods last year grew by 15%. And in the first 6 months of this year, the export of goods also grew by 13%.
Export na inasa ng tariff. Ilan ba yung dinagdag ng US dyan sa, sa tariff niyan?
Yes, we understand that. However, we are all fully aware also of the 19% tariff, which became the 12.5% tariff. Patong-patong po ang tariff. At yung
sabi
export
na eh.
natin ng electronics, tatamaan ng todo-todo. What adjustments can we actually make to the budget in the event, the most likely event, that actual economic growth falls below this assumed range of 5 to 6%? What can actually be done? Should we revise the budget? We know that the contingencies of demanding a supplemental budget make it virtually impossible.
Mr. Chair, if I may, in practice, we revisit our projections, our assumptions every time we have new numbers. Our GDP numbers come out every quarter, and as soon as those numbers come out, we review if our assumptions for the year or the subsequent quarters are still valid. If not, the BCC meets to make some adjustments So that's to make sure that we do not create unnecessary imbalances in the economy moving forward.
Yes, precisely. Which is why perhaps I will ask you that rather than insisting on impossible 5 to 6% growth, can we come down to a more realistic revenue target? Year on year, it's become a bad habit for all of us to keep projecting huge sums and then spending way beyond our means. Secretary Balisacan and I are both Ilocano. This is not what we do. Okay, the other question, earlier we spoke about Forex and the declining peso. The DBCC also assumes that the Dubai crude oil will remain at 70 to 80, 90 per barrel in 2027. But given the current volatility in global oil prices caused by both Iran and the U.S. Trade policies that have been changing so radically, what contingency measures are we undertaking and are apparent in the 2027 budget in the event that oil prices once exceed the assumed range? I think it's $90. Is that correct? So what happens then? Are we going to restudy all of this? Are there any measures we're undertaking to defray an increase in the oil prices? Di ba may 2 pesos na nga natataas na muli ang gasolina, kaya maraming nagtatanong. At yung inaakala nating gera na matatapos, hindi yata matatapos.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, one thing that the DOE has started implementing, taking off from the Middle East crisis, was to start stockpiling on oil, as well as to explore additional storage so that we can increase the storage capacity of the country so that we will not be that very much susceptible to any shocks.
Yes,
once-
Secretary, I know that that's what the DOE will tell us. Perhaps you can tell us with regard to its impact on the budget, on GAA 2027, because clearly so much depends on oil prices and it has a cascading effect on costs for everything.
Well, usually, Your Honor, when forex increases or even oil price increases, the GAA limitation stays the same. So the necessary implication is we have to reduce in terms of quantity. So easily, for instance, for oil consumption of government agencies, when prices go up, then naturally we have to reduce consumption or the quantity of oil because we cannot definitely exceed the limit of budget appropriated or authorized by Congress under the GAA.
Yes, we understand that, but we are consistently concerned that this hasn't been addressed and that there are no contingency plans whatsoever within the budget framework. And since we're in the process of dealing with that, perhaps we should handle that now as well. The 2027 TEP increased by 407 billion plus, or 6% from this year. So how much of this increase represents new spending and how much is attributable to higher costs? Apropos of Senator Lacson's earlier question. Alin dito yung bagong project talaga, bagong FAPS, samantalang yung iba naman ay higher cost lang. In the proposed 2027 budget, financial expenses, this has been mentioned earlier also, interest payments primarily increased by 17+%, faster than personnel services at 7.5%, and capital outlays at 13.8%, whereas the maintenance and operating expenses, like you said, have declined by 36.23 billion, despite so many increases in national tax allotment and BARM, the block grant. Why are we inflicting upon the MOE or the operating expenses the reduction? And which agencies, programs, and essential government services will be most hard hit?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, as for new items in the budget, the increase, particularly for capital outlay, is mainly attributable to various foreign assisted projects, significantly that being implemented by the Department of Transportation. We have given sufficient support for the North-South Commuter Railway as we
Yes.
really endeavor to have partial operability of the northern segment by the end of 2027. The same is true with the additional allocation for infrastructure for the DPWH when we compare to their prior year's budget. We have also had increased provision for the revised AFP modernization program from 40 billion this year to 50 billion next year. As to the MOOE items that would be affected, mainly the
Yes,
reduction.
I think you're talking about capital outlay. That wasn't the question. The question was operating cost, MOE.
Yes.
Bakit yung tinamaan, MOE?
Yes,
Kasi
Your
parang
Honor.
halos hindi na makakakilos yung mga departments sa dami ng bawas.
Your Honor, as to the MOOE, the reduction is actually looking at the quality of spending because as a matter of fact, we have seen piling up of MOOE allocations for the agencies themselves, meaning for the current year, they are still using their 2025 balances at this point in time, and we expect that the same trend would happen. So we consider those factors in really rationalizing what we can provide for 2027 so that we can reprioritize. We have some elbow room to reprioritize some of this MOOE expenditure.
Teka, bakit hindi nagagastos 2025 pa at 2026? Ano ba nangyayari na yung MOE natatambak? Ba't naiipon ng pagkatagal-tagal? Have you
Mr. Chair,
determined what the answer is?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, aside from the planning for the actual requirement, one major contributor for MOOE in particular is the 2-year validity of the budget. So the agencies tend to has the tendency to be lax in terms of implementing the necessary projects because they have in mind that the budget is valid for 2 years anyway. That's why even in the Philippine Budgeting Code, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, we are advocating that at least for MOOE, we will be strict for a 1-year utilization because that would also improve on the efficiency of project implementation and at the same time the
Yes.
utilization of the budget.
Yes, hanging on to it until the last hour doesn't seem to make very much sense because then you won't have any performance or any output to report. So I think that's absurd, no? Maybe you can submit to us what are these MOE balances in which departments from 2025 plus 2026 pa. Napakarami na nun, napaka-inefficient na ng ating bureaucracy kapag gano'n.
We will submit, Your Honor, and it's the same thing that we're trying to address as well in the MOE allocation starting from 2027.
Yes, I think we need to go back. Dun nga napag-usapan na yung tinatawag nating tax promises during the SONA. And I think Secretary Go estimated that there was 60 billion loss from the 350,000 exemption from personal income tax. That being the case, we heard that there would be new taxes under the progress tax package also to offset that. Is that correct? And what are the projected revenue gains or losses thereby?
Yes, the Department of Finance has submitted a draft bill to Congress, to the Senate, that we are calling Progress. And there are 2 revenue eroding reforms there. One of them is what Your Honor mentioned, which is to increase personal income tax exemption to 350,000 a year.
Is the second one the tax amnesty?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
no,
wala
Your
pa
Honor.
yun.
The second one is the removal of the minimum corporate income tax
Oh,
for
the
micro.
minimum, yes.
Yeah, for micro.
The MSMEs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. The micro and small.
So, wala pa dun yung tax amnesty na binanggit rin sa SONA.
Yeah, because the tax amnesty bill is a revenue enhancing measure.
Okay.
Yes,
I think there will be some who will disagree with you, but we will accept that for now.
Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am. So, yes, Your Honor. So, on the revenue generating reforms, we have submitted a menu for the legislature to look at. They compose health taxes.
Yes, with all due respect, and Senator Cayetano will help me here, and this is very clear. Alcohol and cigarettes, alcohol and tobacco are already so heavily taxed. Aren't your projections for increased
Oo nga.
revenue rather optimistic once
Bawasan yung
again?
tax dyan.
I don't know if this is the right venue to
Kawawa yung manginginom.
about the bill. But
No,
we-
I'm just saying that it's not going to be a windfall kasi napakabigat na ng tax niyan eh. Parang konti na lang mapipigar yan. At the risk of what's already occurring, constant smuggling in the tobacco sector.
I'll just answer your question directly, Your Honor. We're not adjusting the excise tax on tobacco. We are looking at vapor products and nicotine pouches.
I
So
see.
not tobacco.
Yes, no, I saw that. It's e-cigarettes, novel tobacco, and e-cigarette devices. I saw that.
Yes.
Nevertheless, that's still a sector that's already heavily taxed. The other question has been about single-use plastics that you included in the list as well, which everyone finds rather optimistic given that there are no clearly available alternatives, particularly in the remote and island areas. So replacing single-use plastics with other alternatives, they're obviously recyclable and sustainable, is not so simple. So that's not another windfall. There's also been some objection to the taxes on automobiles, particularly from the agricultural sector on account of the pickup trucks and the other vehicles they use for farm-to-market vehicles.
Your Honor, I'll answer it again directly. There is no proposed tax on farm vehicles. There's
Yes,
only a
but I
luxury-
think under the list there were pickups.
No, not in progress, Your Honor.
Tinanggal na?
Not in progress. Progress only has a luxury tax for vehicles above 8 million
Katatanggal
pesos.
lang daw. So the Senate President assures us that nakatatanggal pa lamang. No, it's not classified as a farm vehicle, although it's widely used as such. And apparently they've removed it. So we're very relieved. Nevertheless, the motor vehicles users charge will affect everyone. And that's another cause for concern. Having said that, perhaps you can submit to us the projected increased revenue and if it will in fact fill the hole or the shortfall that is expected from the MSMEs exemptions as well as the smaller earners exemptions. The other thing has been, of course, former Finance Secretary Ben Jokno has described the proposed 2027 budget as an all-ayuda budget. What proportion of the 7.2 trillion is
Ayuda,
actually
pabor.
allocated for outright cash assistance, subsidies, social protection? I attempted to make a list pero marami kasi nakatago dun sa isang line ng iba't ibang ahensya katulad ng OP, ng DOLE, at kung ano-ano pa. Nasa 500 billion na, kulang-kulang pa ang aking bilang. Ano yung official bilang po ninyo?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we're just retrieving the figure, but offhand, we would like to note that, in fact, some of the items for cash transfers have actually been reduced. As I've earlier mentioned, the provision for AIX, for MAIFIP, and for TUPAD has actually been reverted back to the NEP level.
Yes, Secretary. On its face, it looks like it's been reduced, but the reality is ang dami rin bago, di ba? Ang dami rin bagong mga
Binago lang yung pangalan pala.
handout, mga cash allocations, and perhaps it's important to listen to the warning of former Secretary Jokno, who says, have you seen the budget littered with ayuda? That's far more vulnerable to political patronage, weakening the budget's capacity to support productivity, employment, and long-term competitiveness. Given that following 2027, 2028 is a presidential national election year, this suspicion should be allayed. How you do that, I am not certain.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, again, we submit that the allocation has actually been reduced from 2026, and we are not sure whether the former secretary is also referring, for instance, for four-piece provision as part of the ayuda, because definitely there's also an a law institutionalizing four-piece, and we're doing targeted selection to ensure that we're not just giving dole out for nothing, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chair, I know that this is above everyone's pay grade, everyone who's here. However, we are already in the budget season, and yet we have no budget secretary. As it stands, the budget secretary, with all due respect, Secretary Kim, is merely in an acting capacity, together with a number of very significant positions. Right now, as I see it, there are 12 acting or overacting secretaries, depending whose side you're on. And we know that firstly, it's only routine administration that they're allowed to do, day-to-day operations, executive orders that are already existing. You have no discretionary or any personnel movements that can be made. How are we supposed to address what is a worldwide crisis with a cabinet that is constituted by 12 at the very least, merely acting secretaries? I would like to name the most important.
Grabe. Dapat si ading mo tinatanong mo dyan. Yan lang naman makakasagot yan eh.
Ones, Executive Secretary Recto, DPWH Dizon, DOTR Lopez, who has such a big chunk for foreign assisted projects, DOJ Vida, DOF, I think Secretary Go, DBM, as mentioned earlier, for DENR, with all the climate change issues, Mitch Cuna is also acting, for DOH, Dr. Mercado, for PCO, Dave Gomez, for DOLE, with an increased budget for social assistance, Francis Tolentino, Joshua Bingkang of BCDA, together with Dr. Liban. So, ang tanong, makakaasa po ba tayo ng pagbabago at tunay na aksyon kapag nakatali ang kamay ng ating mga cabinet members? Alam ko na hindi naman ninyo masasagot ako, pero sa kabila nun siguro mainam na sabihin na rin natin, not only is this a perversion of what should be a system of checks and balances, but we worry that you will not be as free and as able to come up with innovative and emergency measures.
Dapat pinasagot mo pa rin para narinig ng taong bayan kung anong dahilan, bakit puro acting yan mga yan.